Hi everyone, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra and John's Briefs. Here again with Tim Forshey. Tim does a ton of criminal defense here in town. Not just as a lawyer, have been expert witness as well.
Yeah.
So get to play that side of the game.
I'm actually behind the curve on you. I think my first actual testimony as an expert witness will probably have occurred by the time this airs in another county. But I've been an expert witness in several cases, but never made it all the way to the testimony phase. So we'll see. I'll
very
report
rare.
back. Yeah, it is rare. I'll report back to you. So,
yeah. And I wanted to talk to Tim about why. So he is connected very closely with Firearms Legal Protection. Okay, why we're going to talk in this video about why having something in this realm is smart. I think you figured that out pretty quick, and I want to tell you, and Tim wants to talk about a little bit of why I choose Firearms Legal Protection.
To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below.
I think the financial piece here is a pretty simple one to say. You got to have something in this space.
Yeah, I tend to drift back to use the word insurance, and it's actually a prepaid legal plan. It's not insurance. So let's make sure that everybody understands.
Defensive Services Membership.
It's not an insurance company, but I always tell people, would I pay $1,100 a month for health insurance if I knew I would never need to use my health insurance? If God came down to me and told me solemnly I would never get a serious illness, I would never have a serious injury, I would dump my health insurance tomorrow morning.
Sure.
Right? Why would I have it, right? But the reason I have it, the reason it bankrupts me every month is because I might get diagnosed with leukemia, I might lose my leg in a car crash, and if I don't have health insurance, I'm going to bankrupt my entire family getting on Medicaid.
It's gambling.
That's exactly right. So you're banking against the worst case scenario that we all hope and pray never happens, and thank God rarely happens, right? It's the same thing if you have a gun in your life. If you never carry a gun in public, but you have a gun to defend your home, what if you have to defend your home? And what if somebody decides it was overzealous and inappropriate? You're going to bankrupt your entire family. I mean, the psychological, the moral, the emotional problems are still going to be there. But the financial can cause even more of those, right? And literally, it's devastating to families. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I felt like Simon Legree because my clients had to wipe out their retirement, take all the equity of their house, sometimes lose their house. It's horrific. And they were banking that would never happen. So, and a lot of these were back in the days when we didn't have these prepaid legal plans, 15 years ago. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, you hate to say get insurance, because I hate insurance. I guarantee you at least as much, if not more than anybody watching this video. I despise insurance companies.
Yep.
That said, they are necessary evil. The biggest amount of money that my family spends each month is insurance premiums.
100%.
It's a horrible fact. So
it is protecting the entirety of your financial future against catastrophic loss.
Correct.
Is what it is. And in these cases, I hope you never get in a defensive gunfight. Yeah. I try to live my whole life. I'm hell with a gun. I'm good with a gun, but I don't want to use it.
Amen.
Because I know it's the worst day of my life. And the only reason I'd use it is the consequences of not using it are completely unacceptable.
I always put it slightly different. I always say it's the second worst day of your life. And the only day that would be worse is if you didn't use it.
Yeah.
And you're standing over your children's corpse.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
But other than that, it is the worst day of your life. Absolutely.
So, let's just say, Tim, somebody comes to you, they call you because they flipped through the yellow pages, dated pop culture reference, or they looked through the Googles, and your SEO guy is tremendous, and so Forshey Law shows up top of, I pointed a gun at somebody and I need a lawyer. And they didn't have to shoot somebody, but they did have to point a gun at somebody, okay? So what kind of costs are they looking at for that kind of case? We're just gonna go to the defense,
It's gonna depend on where you're watching the video from, right? So I'm not a New York lawyer or a San Francisco lawyer, but in Phoenix, I would say you're probably looking at an average of about $30,000. And that's to do everything that I can do pre-trial to A, get the case dismissed, or B, get the best, most acceptable plea. And if neither one of those options comes to fruition, if you can't accept or won't accept the plea, and we have to talk about preparing and going to trial, add a zero.
Add a zero to it. So again, I just want you to think about your savings balance. And if you go, okay, if I pulled 30 grand out of it, and I didn't shoot anybody, I just pointed a gun at somebody.
This is an ag assault with no shots fired.
Yeah, I just pointed a gun at somebody that I felt like I should have pointed a gun at, but maybe the county attorney says, I don't think you should have pointed a gun at that guy. Now we have a disagreement.
And by the way, guys, this happens a lot. This is probably the most common case I handle, is a no shots fired ag assault charge.
Yeah. And ag assault is a felony where you are going to spend some time in a state-sponsored gated community if you get convicted of that.
And it's a dangerous felony, which is a legal categorization in Arizona, which means you can never, ever get that felony set aside. You'll die a convicted felon once you get out of prison. So.
And you will abrogate your firearms rights and your voting rights. And so, to fight that, you want to fight that. That's big penalties.
Sure.
So you're talking if you can get them to not file charge, or you can stop it before we get to trial, 30 grand maybe. Or now for me, that's why I say, well, wait a minute. For me, $25 a month just makes sense.
And that's for the best coverage they have. So
right. I mean, that's the premium plan, $25 a month, and I'm covered for that. Okay, so that's the least likely one. Now, if you actually have to shoot somebody, it ain't going to be no 30 grand. I'll guarantee you that. Because again, the attorney now has to set aside other clients and go, wait a minute, now I'm getting myself out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning to come to see you and down at the jail. We are spending time in my office. What happened? I have to craft a whole thing about that. I have to go spend time and make some appointments with the county attorney. Can we talk about this? Here's kind of the evidence that I see. What discovery do you have? What is, why are you making charges here? Okay, I think there's some exculpatory evidence you need to see. So I'm doing all this work.
Yeah.
That's not forbid if you have to end up calling an expert witness. He's one, I'm one. I can tell you it's not cheap.
Same hourly rates as lawyers, if not higher.
My hourly rate as an expert is probably a little higher than most lawyers now. It just has to be. There's just no way around it. You can get a little less for a good expert, but depends on who you want. I'm really good in front of a jury, so guess what? I'm going to cost you money. So that's a ton of money. Having something for that, big deal. So now, Tim, I know you've worked closely with Firearms Legal Protection. But you do cases, and the other companies have paid you for work for their clients?
I've actually worked, I was on the board of one of the other companies for many years,
And I tell folks, I don't think any, I won't speak all of them, but the major players in the industry are, generally speaking, they're good people trying to do good work too.
Absolutely.
And they, cover their clients. I know there's been some hit piece videos about USCCA and they didn't do this, they didn't do that. I know some people at USCCA. I think they're fine people.
And they've always treated me well. And I've never had them hang one of my clients out to dry yet.
Yeah,
so I've been involved with them on cases several times.
I know the president of CCW Safe, Mike Darter. He's a great guy. I like Mike. And Don West, their lead counsel, is a fine attorney. Good folks. I know the folks at the highest levels of U.S. Law Shield. And again, so, these are the folks that are the big dogs in the space, right? And good folks. But we've been working with Firearms Legal Protection since 2018. I think that we have been formally working with them, 18 or 19. I'd have to look. It's been so long.
Yeah.
And you work very closely with them too.
I do.
And why do you choose them?
Can I back up really quick?
Sure.
For just one? So one thing I want to make sure, and I'm assuming most of you weren't late to the party, but some of you might have just been hearing about this for the first time, and you're saying, well, I've got great homeowners insurance. I've got great auto. I've got a $2 million umbrella on my wonderful State Farm home policy. That's fantastic. And if someone is injured due to your negligence, you're covered. If someone is injured due to your reckless conduct, you're covered. If you commit an intentional act, I guarantee you it voids your coverage. So review your homeowners and your auto and verify that I'm not just lying to you. A lot of people are unaware of this. They're unaware of the distinction. What's an intentional act? How can you say that's not reckless? Because you did it on purpose, okay? Negligence is where I move too fast and I knock a vase over. Reckless is where I come home drunk and I swing the cat and hit the vase. Intentional is where I'm mad at my wife, I know she loves the vase, and I throw the vase. Okay, there's no coverage for that. That's an intentional act. Well, perversely, if you're in fear for your life and you use reasonable lethal force to end that threat, it was an intentional act. And your insurance coverage from your homeowners and your auto is void.
Unless you decide to try to argue to your insurance company that I didn't mean to shoot him.
Which is awesome. I always say, well, then I'll just tell them that it was on accident. Great. Then you just pled guilty to negligent homicide, which is known as the Alec Baldwin case, or manslaughter if it was... No, I'd rather be bankrupt and not in prison. Thank you very much. People just don't get that distinction. So that's the first. And then the flip side of that coin, John talked about some of these hit pieces on the internet about the big prepaid legal plan cases, is that if you did something negligent, there's no coverage there. If you did something reckless, there's no coverage there. It has to be intentional. There has to be a reasonable use of what you believe to be lethal force to stop an incident against you, it has to be self-defense or there's no coverage. So if you come home drunk and you have a negligent discharge because you're messing with your guns while you're drunk, and then you call Firearms Legal Protection, go, hey, I want you to cover that. They're going to laugh at you, as they should. There's no coverage. So it's exactly the flip. There's no coverage for negligent or reckless if you're getting this kind of coverage. But if you're talking about your regular homeowners and auto, it's just the opposite. There is coverage for negligent or reckless. There is no coverage for intentional. Thus, a wise person will have both types of coverage if you have guns in your life. So to get back to your question, Johnny, about why I prefer FLP, I've kind of tried to condense it down when I explain it to people to 3 reasons, right? And the first reason is it's substantially cheaper. I think that it's the best product
for the price
on the market, but I also think it's about 1/3 the price of some of the main competition. And if I'm getting a comparable product for substantially less money, I'm all interested.
I'm in on it.
So I don't know how they do it, but they hold their costs down substantially over the big competitors. The second reason is that when you call one of the competition folks, you're going to get a very well-trained staff of people, like a crisis management team, and they're great. I've worked with several of them. They keep you calm. There's a lawyer on the way. The police are on the way. Take a deep breath. Don't talk to the police when they get there. They're giving great advice. The problem is they're not attorneys. And that means that anything that you say to them, if it's recorded, if they take notes, or if they have a recollection of that, is subject to discovery. It is not privileged. The state can get the recording. The state can get the notes. The state can take a deposition of the person that answers the phone and ask for the recollections.
And they do.
And they do. What did Mr. Forshey say when he first called you? Well, he said he killed the dirty, rotten MF, blah, 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 and he wished he hadn't shot him. Oh, that's admissible. The jury's going to hear that. And that's devastatingly bad. FLP has a law firm in Dallas, Texas that answers the phone, and attorney-client privilege attaches the minute you make that phone call. And so what you say to FLP is not going to be discoverable by the state. To me, that is huge. As an attorney, that is a huge benefit that I think most people don't understand or appreciate. That's a huge one. And then the last one is, and it's people think it's a bit abstract, but it's not at all, is that if you get sued civilly, FLP will provide your attorney's fees for an attorney to defend you civilly in that lawsuit. They will not pay the damages if any damages are awarded in that lawsuit. And people say, this is so important. And people say, well, I don't like that. I want to go to the competition. The competition offers that they'll pay up to $2 million of any civil damages. And man, that's what I really want. No, you don't, because that acts as bait for a civil attorney to sue you. They're not going to sue you for an intentional tort, which shooting somebody when you shouldn't have shot them or threatening when you shouldn't have threatened them is intentional. That's an intentional tort. And there's no insurance coverage, as we've already covered, under your homeowners or your auto. And how does going after somebody's personal assets work out? The law firm that went after O.J. Simpson and the Brown and Goldman families, how much money did you get from a filthy rich guy named O.J. Simpson when he was ordered to pay, I think, $58 million? And that the system is not set up to help you with that. They will divest themselves of their assets. They will shield everything in a bankruptcy action, and you'll never get a penny. And by the way, for you to get a shot at that, you have to go all the way through a trial. That's maybe 2,000 hours of legal work that law firm is going to have to do over the next 2 or 3 years to get a jury verdict. That's time that I could be selling at $600 an hour to other clients that I'm working on a contingency fee basis on this case that keeps me from making money elsewhere. Plus, I might have to front $250,000 of my own treasure to pay for my expert witnesses and my transcripts and my deposition fees and travel expenses for my expert witnesses, all that stuff. That's money that I have to put up that I get reimbursed from with no interest from my client at the end of the case if it's successful, but that I don't get reimbursed if there's no award or a non-recoverable award. And so what that really means is that people don't get sued for personal torts, for intentional torts, unless there's insurance coverage, right? And so FLP is very smart in not offering that insurance coverage because that doesn't act like a rainbow or a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it doesn't entice lawyers to actually go after the kill when they realize they ain't going to get paid. So I always imagine that first meeting that the judge calls after the civil lawsuit, and the defense attorney that FLP has hired says, hey, I'm getting paid $600 an hour. How about the rest of you guys at the table? And they all go, oh, no, we're here on a contingency. And I say, oh, so you're not getting paid unless you recover? Man, I say we drag this out as long as we can, man. I'm getting paid $600 an hour.
Yeah, this is great for me.
And guess what happens the next day? Motion to dismiss is filed, right? Once they verify there's no coverage. So to me, even though I might not have to worry about it being my treasure that's going to go to the plaintiff, I don't want to go through a lawsuit. I don't want to have the sleepless nights and the missed work,
the depositions,
and the horrific way I'm going to be portrayed, and maybe it hits the press and that gets even. I don't want any of that. And so FLP's got it figured out. This is how you make sure that doesn't happen. And a lot of people are ignorant about this. And by the way, it's not a crime to be ignorant, it's a crime to be stupid, right? I'm ignorant about most things. If you're ignorant about this, educate yourself about this, because it really is as I'm demonstrating for you. You're not going to get sued unless there's a pot at the end of that rainbow. And FLP's figured that out. They don't put one there.
I'm going to add a fourth. Another advantage, in my opinion, is they have done, Firearms Legal Protection has done a really good job of looking and vetting the attorneys that they use in each state. And so they have a guy like Tim Forshey here in Arizona. They're based in Texas, right? But they figured out, hey, we need a great criminal defense attorney in Arizona. And I have Tim Forshey, who we've got an existing relationship with, and is not just a good criminal defense attorney, but we know knows firearms law. We know knows self-defense law because he's got experience with it. And they do that in every state. And we don't have to worry about, oh, okay, well, I'm barred in the state of Texas, and so I've got to hope that I get pro hoc vice and I get admitted in the state where you have a problem. So if I'm not admitted in that state, then I may have an attorney-client relationship with this person, but the district attorney may not want to talk to me because you're not allowed to practice in my state. Get out of my face.
That's right.
Oh, wait a minute. I've got to get on this case and get this pro hoc vice. Well, do you have an attorney that you know in that state that's going to sponsor you?
Yeah, because what ends up happening a lot of times is that my sponsoring attorney that I got pro hoc vice through ends up being the negotiator.
Right.
And if I know a really good criminal defense attorney in that state that will help me get pro hoc vice, you probably should have hired that person in the first place instead of me. So they're local, they know the people. I don't. It's kind of it argues against itself. Yeah.
And so if that's your plan, that my hot shot is going to just be pro hoc vice, that sounds good because you know that your attorney is a high-profile, high-powered, really good attorney, right? Remember, attorney is just an arguer, right? They're just a salesman of words.
My mom is nodding furiously.
Just a word salesman at the end of the day. Marketing, right? But to know, nope, you're admitted in that state, and again, you call the 800 number, which mine's in my phone. Yours should be, if you're an FLP member, it should be in your phone too. Should be in your spouse's phone. Mine is in my wife's phone too, because again, if something happens, my phone may be gone. They may not let me have my phone.
You're in custody with no phone. That's
hey, call the emergency number. Tell them I need an attorney. And then you're talking to them, and then they go, who do we have in Nebraska? Okay, we have the list. Gonna make a phone call right now here in Arizona. Tim gets a call from them, and okay, I'm on my way.
And that's a lot of people say, well, if I want to use you and I'm on vacation in Nebraska, can you come to? Well, I can't promise that. Some lawyers do. I don't make promises that I know I can't keep necessarily. So I would say I will do everything I can to get pro hoc vice status, and very likely I'll be able to, but I can't promise that.
Right.
But here's the thing. Again, I don't know the system in Nebraska. I don't know the statutes in Nebraska. They're probably similar to ours with regard to self-defense, but I can't cite them. I don't know them. I come across as ignorant. I don't have a relationship with any prosecutors in that office. I don't know any of the judges in that county. You're better served by a competent, knowledgeable person that's in that locality, and certainly that includes me anywhere. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at it here, but I say, how are you in Rhode Island? Are you kidding me? I don't have a clue. So. And
one more, a fifth one that I throw out. This one's a little self-serving, so just deal with it as it is that one of my roles at Firearms Legal Protection is I am a consulting expert for Firearms Legal Protection. And therefore, if you are a member of Firearms Legal Protection, you get in a defensive encounter, your attorney who got hired through FLP can call me. Now, that doesn't mean that I will represent you and I will write an expert report for you or I will testify for you. Then FLP and I will have to have a discussion about fees and all those things.
And also your opinion may not be helpful.
And also my opinion might not be helpful. Yeah. So, but we have an agreement with them. Hey, by all means, shoot me an email. John, I need a consult on this case. Can you give me a consult here? Sure, no problem. Give me what you got. Call me on the phone, and guess what? As a consulting expert, I'm not disclosed to the other side. Nothing that I say is there. I'm internal work product, so I can do that, and I do. So those are our 5 reasons for that. They didn't ask us to make this video. Right. FLP did not. This isn't a thing that they did. Actually, Tim was like, hey, I want to talk about why I prefer them.
And that's, if it helps FLP, if it helps you guys find FLP, fantastic. I think that's great. But my reason was important. I see people all the time that don't have this kind of coverage, and it is devastating to them financially. And now I'm doing stuff for half price because I feel bad for them, and my wife's not happy about that. And this just commercializes the whole transaction, right? They're a risk management company. They can afford it a lot more than we can. So to me, it's a service to potential clients as well. If this is a commercial for FLP, so be it. But to me, the reason I wanted to talk about it was because I want people to understand it's not a scam. It is incredibly smart to have this kind of coverage, and I recommend FLP if you're going to take that to heart. But that's the reason I thought we should do it. Is a lot of folks just don't. A lot of folks think, hey, I got great homeowners. No, you're not in the party yet. So
there's a link in the description. You can use that link to sign up. There is a discount for ASP fans on that link. I don't get paid for that. I don't get spiffed on that. I don't get commissions on that. Firearms Legal Protection has been a sponsor of ASP for years and years and years, and they advertise on both channels. And so as a sponsor, in fact, if you look, they actually are on this shirt. This is fancy. They even made me this shirt. Will they do that on
Blazers? I need to see if they'll
That's pretty cool, right? You know, so again, they made me an ASP polo with their logo on it, which I thought was pretty cool. So I really appreciate them, and I really think they do a good job, and I'm proud to be a partner with them. Yeah. And you know, you guys know, if you've been around ASP for a while, we only invite people to be partners that have products that we vetted, that we know, that we use. And I use Firearms Legal Protection. Thankfully, I've never had to enable it because I haven't had a gunfight in my life since I've been a Firearms Legal Protection
And we're also
member.
thankful you haven't had to use your life insurance or...
Right,
yeah,
100%,
exactly.
you know. But having it is smart. So, guys, those are those 5 reasons. Should have something, and if FLP is in your state, which they almost certainly are, you should give them a strong look.
Yep.